Somebody very close to Kimi Antonelli just confirmed on the record exactly what the paddock has been whispering for months. Not a rival engineer, not an anonymous insider, Toto Wolff, the man who signs his paychecks speaking to a named outlet, with his own name attached to every word. In this video, you will understand exactly what he said, why it matters more than a compliment usually does, and why the timing of this admission changes how you should read Antonelli's entire season. Keep that word timing in your head. It comes back. Here is where this season stood at the summer break, stated with no exaggeration. Kimi Antonelli, 19 years old, in his first full campaign in Formula One, held a 59-point lead over his own teammate. 59 points is not a strong run of form. It is a different tier of season entirely, built by a driver who, 12 months earlier, was finishing races with 0 points 9 separate times. If you want the stories the paddock does not put in the press releases, subscribe right now and tell me in the comments which country you are watching from, because what Wolff said next depends entirely on how closely you have been following Mercedes this year. So here is what he actually said, without softening it. Talking about Antonelli, Wolff told Racing News 365, quote, Kimi completed 9 races last year in which he did not score a single point, but is suddenly very good this year. Sit with that sentence for a second because it is not empty praise. This is not a press officer's talking point. This is the man who runs the team, on the record, naming the gap between who Antonelli was 12 months ago and who he is now, and refusing to pretend the gap is small. Ask the questions a skeptic would ask, because that is the only way this kind of praise earns its weight. Is this just a boss being kind to a young driver in front of a journalist? Not really, because Wolff did not stop at praise. He immediately followed it by pointing out that expectations shift the moment a driver starts performing at this level, and that Antonelli is now the one absorbing that shifted pressure. Is there a reason to doubt the improvement is real? Barely, because 0 points across 9 races and a 59-point championship lead are not two versions of the same driver by accident. Something changed, and Wolff is telling you, without hedging, that it was not luck. Here is the part that turns this from a compliment into a story, because in that same conversation, Wolff admitted something else entirely. He confirmed that George Russell, Antonelli's own teammate, had been losing roughly 0.2 of a second per lap for months because of an unresolved engine issue in his car. Read those two admissions side by side, the way they were actually said, back to back, in the same interview. One driver gets praised for a leap in performance, the other driver gets an explanation, months late, for why his performance collapsed. Neither statement is false on its own. Put them together and you get the real question this video is actually asking. And if you are not subscribed yet, this is exactly the kind of story you will want to be here for. Because when a team explains one driver's rise and another driver's fall in the same breath, the next question always follows. So let's do the honest math, because this channel does not let a headline number stand without checking it. If Russell genuinely lost 0.2 a lap across half a season, some real portion of the gap between him and Antonelli traces back to a mechanical problem, not a performance problem. That does not erase Antonelli's 59 points. It does mean the size of that number was never purely a talent gap. Some of it, an amount nobody has fully quantified in public yet, was a Mercedes factory problem that happened to land on one side of the garage and not the other. Now widen this out, because the real story here is not whether Antonelli is good. He clearly is. The real story is what it says about a team that can, in the same conversation, hand out genuine praise and a genuine excuse, and expect both to be believed without anyone checking whether they cancel each other out. Here is the honest defense of Wolff's position, because it deserves to be said properly before this video moves past it. Engine problems and driver form are not mutually exclusive explanations. A car can genuinely underperform for one driver, while the other driver genuinely improves, and both things can be entirely true at the same time, with no contradiction and no cover story required. Wolff did not claim Antonelli's rise was fabricated. He did not claim Russell's issue was invented to excuse a slump. He simply reported two separate facts, and they happened to land in the same interview. That is a defensible account, and it may well be the honest one. It is also not the full picture, because the real question this raises is not whether Antonelli earned his season. It is whether 59 points was ever the correct number to describe how far ahead of Russell he actually was, on pure performance, with both cars working as intended. Do I know the precise split between mechanical disadvantage and genuine improvement? No, and I am not going to pretend a single interview answers that with certainty. It is simply a fair question, and it is one Mercedes has not answered directly yet. So here is where this leaves the two of them, heading into the second half of the season. Antonelli, 19, with a lead his own boss says is built on genuine improvement, not accident. Russell, with a confirmed mechanical explanation for at least part of the deficit, and a car that is reportedly now fixed. If the gap starts closing once both cars are running as they should, that tells you something real about how much of 59 points belong to talent, and how much belong to a problem that has just been admitted out loud. What comes next is the part that decides whether this validation holds up. Before I get to it, subscribe, because this story does not end at the summer break. It resolves the moment both cars are on equal footing and the real gap becomes visible. Here is the verdict this channel is willing to give you. Wolff's praise for Antonelli was not manufactured, and nothing in what he said suggests it was. A driver does not go from 9 scoreless races to a 59-point championship lead by accident, and no engine problem on the other side of the garage explains that entire distance. But the honest version of this story is not that Antonelli is a myth built on somebody else's misfortune. It is that the true size of his lead has never actually been tested with both cars working properly, and it is about to be. So tell me, was Antonelli always this good and everyone just needed the car problem exposed to admit it properly? Or does some real part of that 59-point lead belong to Russell's engine, not to Antonelli's talent? Like this one if you think it was always him? Comment if you think the real number gets revealed once both cars are finally equal. This story is not finished, because the moment both Mercedes are running clean, we find out what 59 points actually meant. Subscribe because I am covering that comparison the second the data is there. Hit like, leave your verdict below, and until the next one.